Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious and, let's be honest, fascinating concepts out there, the Akashic Records. I want to start with just one big question. What if the universe itself had a memory? I mean, really think about that. What if every single thought, every action, every feeling, everything that's ever happened or ever will happen is recorded somewhere? That's the huge idea we're going to unpack.
So, what are they, exactly? Well, the easiest way to think about them is as a kind of universal, non-physical database. Like a cosmic hard drive or a spiritual cloud that stores the vibrational imprint of literally everything. It's not a dusty library with actual books, but a living, dynamic field of energy.
But where did this whole idea even come from? Well, you might be surprised to learn that to understand the records, we have to go way back to the concept of Akasha, which, believe it or not, wasn't an archive at all. It was considered an ancient primordial element.
Yep, the word Akashic actually comes from the Sanskrit word Akasha. In a lot of Eastern philosophies, this was seen as the foundational stuff of reality itself, the subtle ether that everything else, like earth, air, fire, and water, came from.
So you see, Akasha was never just empty space. It was so much more. Depending on the school of thought, it was the very fabric that carried sound, or the container for all of existence, or even a metaphor for enlightenment. It was a really complex and active idea.
Okay, so you're probably asking, how on earth did we get from a fundamental element to a cosmic library? Great question. The answer takes us to the 19th century, when this Eastern idea made its way to the West and got, well, a radical makeover.
It's a fascinating story, really, with a whole cast of characters who shaped this idea. It all kicks off with Helena Blavatsky, gets its official name from C.W. Leadbeater, gets turned into a research tool by Rudolf Steiner, and then is finally made famous by the legendary sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce.
And this is how Blavatsky first presented the idea. Now get this, she didn't even call them the Akashic Records yet. But her description, wow, indestructible tablets of the astral light. It's so evocative, right? The idea of a permanent record of everything we do and think.
Then you've got Rudolf Steiner. He took this idea and just sprinted with it. For him, this wasn't about personal fortunes. No, this was a historical tool, a way to do spiritual archaeology. He claimed he could use the records to investigate lost continents like Atlantis, and even find a so-called fifth gospel. But the real game changer? That was Edgar Cayce. He's the one who really brought this idea down from the cosmos and into the living room. He totally shifted the focus from big historical mysteries to intensely personal healing, claiming he could go into a trance and read a person's book of life for them. Okay, so the story's already pretty wild, right? Well, hold on, because in the late 20th century, it takes a turn no one saw coming. The concept moves from the seance room into the science lab.
And this is where we meet Ervin Laszlo, a scientist and systems theorist. He looked at this spiritual idea and said, hey, what if there's a scientific basis for this? He proposed what he called the Akashic field, or A field, describing it as a fundamental field of energy that both stores and communicates information. And just look at the difference in language here. It's really incredible. On one side, you have these beautiful spiritual terms like the Book of Life, and on the other, you have hardcore physics concepts like quantum vacuum and zero-point field. It's the same fundamental idea, just seen through two totally different lenses. So what's the big takeaway from Laszlo's theory? It's this: the universe isn't just a bunch of random stuff happening. It's informed. It has a memory, a holographic one at that, and it's not just sitting there passively. He argues this field is actively influencing how everything evolves, from tiny particles all the way up to consciousness. Okay, but let's pump the brakes for a second. There's no hard physical proof of an A field. So to be thorough, we absolutely have to look at this from the skeptic's point of view. Could there be a purely psychological explanation for all this?
I want you to read this statement for a moment. Does that resonate with you? Feel kind of personal, like it's talking directly to you? Yeah, for most of us, it does. And this is a perfect example of something called a Barnum statement.
And there's a name for that feeling. It's called the Barnum effect. It's a well-known psychological trick our brains play on us, where we take very general statements and feel like they're uniquely about us. Critics say this is a huge reason why psychic readings can feel so incredibly accurate.
And look, skeptics will tell you it's not just one thing. It's a whole cocktail of cognitive bias he's working together. You've got the Barnum effect, plus clever techniques called cold reading, our natural desire to believe positive things about ourselves, and of course, confirmation bias, where we remember all the correct guesses and just forget the wrong ones.
But here's the thing. Whether you think it's a spiritual reality or you think it's all in our heads, you can't deny one thing. The idea of a universal record has had a huge impact on our culture. It just speaks to this deep human need for our lives to mean something on a cosmic scale. I mean, once you start looking for it, you see it everywhere. It pops up in comic books, anime, music by artists like Prince, and even manga. It's become this go-to creative trope for a universal database of all knowledge and power.
And what's really fascinating is that this isn't some newfangled idea. The core concept that someone somewhere is keeping score that our actions are recorded, that's ancient. It's a deep human intuition you can find in major traditions all over the world.
And that brings us right up to today, where we've seen another massive shift. The idea that you have to be some kind of special, gifted psychic to access the Akashic records, that's gone. It's been, well, democratized. Teachers have created methods and prayers to make it a spiritual practice that anyone can try. So when you step back and look at it, what an incredible journey this one idea has been on. It started as an ancient element, got transformed by 19th century mystics, made famous by a 20th century prophet, explored by a modern scientist, and finally turned into a personal spiritual tool for the 21st century. So that's where we'll leave it, with this big question for you to think about. Are the Akashic records a real spiritual dimension? Are they a new frontier of science just waiting to be explored? Or are they something else entirely? A powerful, enduring metaphor for how connected we all are and for our need to believe that our shared story actually matters. Maybe figuring that out is the real journey.